Confession time. Every January, listeners, my social media feed becomes this absolute circus of transformation posts like New Year, New Me, get shredded in 30 days, just drink this and that, and watch your life change. And honestly, I am exhausted just scrolling through it. But here's what gets me. We are now in February 2026, and statistically, about 80% of those New Year resolutions are already dead in the water. The gym memberships are getting dust, the meal prep containers are shoved in the back of the cabinet, and a lot of us are sitting here feeling like failures again. I have gone through that, listeners. So today, I wanted to have a different conversation. Not about quick fixes or perfect abs or whatever's trending on TikTok or Instagram this week. I want to talk about what actually works when it comes to sticking to health goals. And more importantly, why most of us are getting it so wrong. So, hey everyone, welcome to this another interesting episode on the BizBlend podcast. I'm your host, and as always, here, and this is the show where we skip the fluff and get real about building businesses and lives that actually work. And listeners, let me tell you, my guest has a story that I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you. She didn't start with her fitness journey from a place of empowerment or self love. She started from shame, from a drive through moment that stung so badly it sparked years of obsession, disordered patterns, and eventually a complete transformation in how she understands health and confidence. And today she runs More Confident Fitness, and her whole philosophy is built on something radical, that strength isn't something you chase, it's already in you. So, listeners, please welcome McKenzie Jacobs to BizBlend. McKenzie, welcome, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Well, thank you. That was a fabulous introduction, and I can't wait to dive deeper with your audience.
Totally, totally. Um, and McKenzie, I have fallen into um, that shameful trap of having New Year resolutions, took gym memberships. It never worked out actually. Never worked out. It worked out in some other kind of mysterious way. It took like 1.5 years because way back, like 10, 15 years back, I was overweight and I have had some really serious health concerns, health issues because of my overweight. And the doctor just, gave me like this serious look and this feeling of emergency that if you do not work on your weight, it's going to have a lot of problems for you. Because till before that time, I never considered, that overweight being a very serious problem other than the image issue, like people either bullying me or taunting me, because that's what was giving me that, fear or that feeling of shame and judgment. And that's how kind of uh I got onto the journey of losing weight. It took literally like more than a year for me because I was not doing it drastically, but
Mhm.
like exercising twice throughout the day, having a very controlled diet, of course. But then, uh, yeah, this is a very, very common trap that people, especially in the beginning of the year, they fall into.
For sure. For sure. And I can relate to your story as well. And as you introduced in the introduction of my fitness journey, I came from a place as well of being a little bit overweight, having doctors look over my chart twice, getting that look that you were talking about, and so I understand all those feelings, and I think that's something that empowers me as well as a trainer and online coach is I've walked that journey. I've been in my client's shoes, and I know those feelings and emotions tied behind it, and I know how much of a struggle it can be, not only feeling within your body, but within your mind space too, and how much that permeates into your world and your relationship with yourself and with others, and it has a big impact, and I try to use that as a grounding source too when relating to my clients because I've been there. It's not fun.
Exactly, exactly. Why do you think, McKinsey, that, actual what is the actual reason that people can't stick to their health goals? And um I think there shouldn't be any sanitized answer. Like, is it what's the real problem here? Because like everyone will have this question. Why doesn't it work out?
I think that's a great question.
Mm,
And I'm glad we're starting off with this. So, especially with the prevalence of social media and people
mm,
telling you what you should do keto, or you should be on Ozempic, or you should do HIIT training, or you should do high rocks. There's so much out there of telling us what we should be doing to get to X goal. But really, the best diet and workout regimen is the one that you can actually stick to because you enjoy it and it's realistic. So, the problem that a lot of people have is they go from November, December, they're like, oh, I'm going to put off my health goals. The New Year's right around the corner. I'll start paying attention and being more disciplined then. And they go from having no regimen or parameters around their eating to then January 1 hits and it's 0 to 100. So they go full force on the other end of it and throw the kitchen sink and everything at it. So the problem with that is you're going from not having any of those habits or regimens built up to now you threw 10 different things on your list of how you're going to meet your health and fitness goals. And that's just quite frankly not sustainable. So, main reason that people don't stick to their goals that they set at the beginning of the year is because they don't actually realistically think about how much time they can dedicate to their health and fitness each week. So instead of saying like I have a busy schedule, I have kids and a family and a demanding job, I can dedicate 1 to 2 days per week to work out. They go, I'm going to join this new gym. I'm going to go to 5 classes a week, and then I'm going to go to Pilates and yoga. And it just becomes so overwhelming because you go from 0 to 100. There's no ramp up period, there's no slow introduction of these new habits. So, what I always recommend is to be really realistic with yourself on the weeks that life is lifing, things get chaotic, which they always do. What can you realistically dedicate to your health goals? And so that's really step one is being real with yourself and being realistic. And guess what? You only need 1 to 2 days of structured exercise to actually see results, especially in regard to strength training. You really only need 1 day a week. So that's all it takes, even if it's 30 minutes. So that's the biggest gap I see is people go from 0 to 100 without being real about what they can realistically dedicate to their goals. So I think if we're able to solve for that and to find a regimen that you can actually stick to and you're consistent and you start to stack those wins, you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 weeks and I've hit my one workout a week. Every single week, I feel really good. I feel like maybe I can add a second one. And then it starts to build from there. So once you fulfill promises to yourself, start to stack those wins, you build that confidence inside of you that you can do hard things. And then from there, we can start to add some more strategies. Okay, let's add a second day of working out. Maybe let's look at our calories and maybe let's try to aim for this number of calories next week. So you want to make sure you're slowly incrementally introducing these different strategies so that it's sustainable and that people can keep it. Because at the end of the day, that's the biggest issue in the fitness industry is consistency. And that's really what we have to solve for. And so when we preach these messages of go hard, go home, or everyone has the same 24 hours in the day, it's not helpful because you have to find what works for you. And that's going to look different for everyone. So we shouldn't be so dogmatic in how we preach health and fitness. And it's really personal to everyone and it could look different for everyone. So starting there and finding what realistically can work for you.
Hmm. And rationally and realistically, it all makes sense, because not not just fitness. Like, if anything, like, if we want to have a major life change and we are preparing for it, then by default, we feel that energy, like, yes, from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go gym, dedicate 1 hour into this, or maybe from tomorrow, maybe tonight onwards, I'm going to have 1 hour of focused study or maybe focused work, or I'm going to read this book. I'll start with this. Okay, I'll make sure that I finish this book within this week itself. Like, we have that vigor, that zeal within us.
Yes.
But then we start, it goes, and then slowly and gradually, or maybe sometimes instantly it like fades away. And you addressed that very, very perfectly in that answer. But then, one side of this fitness industry will say, no, it has to be hard because you have to get out of your comfort zone, because that goal for you, it may look like unachievable. Like you will say that I cannot lose that amount of weight, but you have to get out of your comfort zone and make sure that you go through all the pain and effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, and you get that result. How would you convince those skeptics?
Mhm. That's really a good question. So, in a sense, if you really think about it, when it comes to health and fitness, it is gonna be hard because we're changing habits
Yes.
and we have a status quo that we're used to sticking to that has kept us in our comfort zone. But what is the price of staying the same? Let's say in the next 6 months, what is the price of having low energy, not feeling confident, not feeling like yourself, right? So you really have to ask yourself that question. And changing habits is hard. There's going to be friction, there's going to be challenges, and that's why I always set that expectation with my clients of what it looks like. I'm going to say in a month, you're really going to be questioning things. Your motivation has died down. It's harder to stay consistent. You don't have that zeal, as you mentioned. And this is where we rely on those habits we've built that are sustainable. So using that discipline. Okay, I can hit my 2 workouts this week, right? Like it's not as daunting as hitting 5. So there is an element that is true to that where this will be hard. We're changing habits quite
Yes.
literally, and it takes time to build habits so that they feel more natural and they're just kind of second nature rather than having that friction. I always say the first couple of steps you're going to have to force yourself, and then you'll get into a flow and a rhythm, and then things will flow and you'll feel good and you'll start enjoying it. So,
Mhm.
to a degree, yes, it will be hard, but it also should be enjoyable. And so, if you're dreading going into your workouts, whether you're working with a trainer or you're doing group classes or doing your own workouts, if you're dreading it every single time, guess what? That's not going to stick. If you're leaving, dragging yourself out in a pool of sweat, that's not going to stick, right? You might have that high where you feel really good the first month or two and you've got the motivation and it's a new year. But then if you really look at it, you're not going to keep doing that if you don't enjoy it. So there's a balance. There's a balance. It's going to be hard because we're changing habits, but you also should be enjoying it as well to a degree. Certain days, you may have a day where you're not feeling it, and that's okay. You still show up for yourself and fulfill that promise. You still build that confidence, but as a whole, you should be enjoying it, and so I think to those people, I would say, yes, but there should be an element of enjoyment to it so it is sustainable because at the end of the day, when we go 0 to 100 and it should be hard and you should be sweating and you should feel like you're about to die or pass out. Like, that's just not sustainable. And so that's where, when preaching messages like that, that's where we get people to fall off. And I blame the fitness industry for that. So that's on us. That's our responsibility to make this welcoming and to make it so that people can stick to it. And so I urge the fitness industry to make sure that they're preaching the importance of balance and enjoying the process and the journey because that's what it's all about, right? Like the destination's there, but you'll get to the destination. Let's say you do everything right, you get to your destination, you lost the 15 pounds you wanted. You're gonna get there and still kind of feel like what's next, right? So it's never really about the destination, it's about the journey and enjoying it along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know that you have a long road to go ahead. You have a supercar, but if you just drive fast and your fuel is burnt and there's no wow, then how exactly are you going to run your car and reach to your destination?
Exactly. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
And the Mackenzie, tell us about the journey behind more confident fitness. Like you started it from, uh, like in dorm room Instagram account, and to an actual business. Like if you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, so it was it was born in the moldy dorm rooms of Wake Forest when I was a sophomore, and that was in the period of my life where I tried to chase being as small as possible. I wouldn't eat throughout the weeks, and then I would binge on the weekends. I would drink a lot, and it just wasn't a picture of health, and looking back, everything's 2020, but I needed that as a part of my journey to understand what I don't want going forward. And yeah, so from there, I started doing, I don't know if you've heard of the Kayla Itsini's Bikini Body Guide. She's Australian. She became really big, but they were kind of like body weight hit strength workouts, and that kept me consistent. It challenged me. I really liked it. It was a little bit more like high intensity, I would say. It wasn't until my friend who was on the powerlifting team at LSU, she showed me the squat rack one day, and because she had done a Kayla Itsini's workout with me and she hated it, rightfully so, it was a lot of cardio, and she showed me the squat rack, and then ever since that day, I just kind of was enamored by the idea of strength and barbell movements and moving weight. And so I started to notice a shift in myself where I wasn't so focused on how I looked and what my number was on the scale, but I started to focus on the number on the bar and how strong I was getting and all these muscles developing. And it was a really pivotal shift for me, not only in the sense that I became healthier and my habits started to align towards feeling myself and wanting to chase growing muscles, but more so mentally and shifting from body dysmorphia and self-hate and trying to shrink myself to one of confidence and strength and capability and empowerment. And so it just continued to grow my love for it. I would have friends who would ask to work out with me and I would show them different things. And it wasn't until I moved to San Diego and I was just surrounded by just a love for life and fitness, and people wanna go do things and explore, and it just kind of helped motivate me to explore what getting my personal training license would look like, and so I ended up doing that, and probably should say this, but once I got my license, one of my friends came to me, like, a month after, and she's like, "I really wanna train with you, I wanna start this health journey," and I was like, "Okay, just get a 24-hour membership," 'cause I was a member there, and I just started kinda training her under the rug, which you're not technically supposed to do, but that was kinda my starting ground there, but, yeah, it just gave me the skills and knowledge and confidence that I can do this and I can help people, and, even her journey and her progress, not just physically, she had had a bad car accident a couple years before, and a whole side of her body wasn't in sync with her other side and just the imbalances, and seeing her journey there and just, like, even more so the mental side of it and the mental change and how confident and how she considered herself a gym rat now and, like, loved coming to the gym, that was the biggest victory for me, and so that gave me a lot of momentum, and I'm like, "Okay, I do wanna do this, like, I can be hopeful, I can change lives," and so I started to pursue working at a gym, and I happened to find, a local woman-owned gym in South Park, San Diego, and just connected with the owner, and that's really where everything kinda took off, and started personal training there, and then moved into online platforms too. So, yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it all started from a really poor place in my own mental and physical side of things and being able to blossom and grow, and I feel like it's my superpower to be able to share that with other people because I know what it feels like to be in that vicious cycle, and you really feel like a prisoner to it, to be honest, and so being able to release people from those shackles and help them feel more confident and empowered and find that inner strength that's always been there, but we're just helping it bring it out, so that's the evolution of more confident fitness, and my goal is to spread that to as many people as I can, men, women, all ages, just to help feel good in your body and feel empowered and confident.
Totally, totally. And one very something that I've also realized over the years that with something I used to think that this is the exact reason why this entire weight loss or having a good quote unquote figure, the exact measurements and all that stuff. Like I was completely clouded in that kind of discussions, conversations that you have to be like desirable, very much presentable, and that doesn't mean that um you can be in any shape you want. I mean, it's not just the vague body positivity or the having something which is unrealistic as per your body or as per because every human, irrespective of men and women, we all are different.
Yeah.
Uh, and something that I realized is that it's not about punishing your body. Like you shared that, you didn't used to have anything during the weekdays, and then you used to have like you used to eat during the weekends. Something that I also did, like, very strict diet for a specific month, and then maybe next month, if there is by chance any occasion, I used to eat like hell, because my body used to give up. It didn't get any
Yeah.
kind of good food which my brain would identify as a good food, like this happy food. And then if I used to get a chance at it, I used to like gorge something like it. And
Yeah.
that once again, made me kept me when helped me go, like, it made me get back into that vicious loop, that feeling of judgment, shame, and then punishing once again that, okay, if you're having 500 extra calories today, you have to work out for maybe 2 hours extra. Maybe you have to work out thrice in that entire day, or you
Mm.
cannot afford to eat any more food after this. And it's a very challenging spot to be in. I mean, it affects you physically, emotionally, mentally.
Yes. Yes, it does. And I think something that's important to say is you can't hate yourself into a good body. It just doesn't work. And a lot of times I see this, especially in my group fitness classes, people who are chasing that cortisol dump and they want to feel sweaty and they want to feel like they're dragging themselves out. And it's almost a form of punishment. Maybe it comes from a place of they did eat a little bit more, it's the holidays, or maybe they were off track or whatever it may be. You simply cannot hate yourself into a better body. It just won't work, right? So we have to really address that first, and then we can move into a more positive direction. But yeah, if you are always chasing aesthetics, you're never going to get aesthetics or health. If you chase health, you'll get both. And so that's kind of the framework that I work under with my clients. And I would say that 95% of what I do is the mindset side of things, because you're right that it's such a bad cycle to be in, and it sounds like we both can relate to that. And so breaking from that and really assessing why am I doing these things, right? Like maybe I'm binging. I do really well one month and then I'm binging. Okay, what does that say? Maybe I'm not feeding myself enough to where as soon as my body gets the opportunity to feed itself properly, it just kind of goes 0 to 100. So maybe we should look at how much we're eating during the week or that month. Maybe we can adjust things so I'm actually fueling my body, getting the nutrients I need so I don't have these binging episodes. And so you're able to kind of assess what's working, what's not. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you really truly can't hate yourself into a better body. So let's use exercise as an empowering thing to fill our own cup, to provide that self love, to feed good into our bodies. And so approaching it more from that standpoint versus hating yourself into a good body, because it'll never work. It may work for a short period, but then you're going to be back to where you were or in a worse spot.
Yeah, yeah. And I know we have a time constraint here, McKinsey, but I think it's a very important um, uh, point to address, specifically talking about the fitness and the health industry. Like, these, like in India, I mean, Ozempic has been there in the Western world. I mean, it has made quite a wave, quite a number of headlines in there. But now, very gradually, like gradually, we in India also, specifically in the media, movie industry and everywhere. Like, celebrities are actually openly sharing about taking Ozempic, or maybe they're not openly mentioning it, but still, it's kind of the rumor mills, like, Ozempic, a sudden weight loss in there. And
Yeah.
in a way, they're kind of, flaunting it, like, they're trying to portray it in a very good way. But deep down, I think we know what are the harmful effects of Ozempic. I mean, to begin with, it was not even meant for something as, as crucial as weight loss.
Yeah.
What's your viewpoint on all this? Because you are coming from an industry, so do you think that, people, even after still knowing the harmful effects and
Mm.
everything that, the celebrities or the people who are actually endorsing or flaunting it,
Mhm.
they may not even believe in that. They may have taken, maybe because of the industry pressure or maybe the pressure of the trend. Still, they would like, to go ahead with a, an option which can guarantee quick fix, but not sustainability
Yeah.
and safety.
No, that's a great question, and I've done my due diligence of educating myself on GLP-1s and listening to podcasts, and I'm part of a trainer course where they specifically address GLP-1s, and my opinion of it is that it can definitely be a net good. If we're taking someone who has consistently struggled with their weight and they're in obesity range and they have all these poor health markers, if we're able to take them and give them something that can help reduce food noise and maybe rewire their hedonistic reward system and replace it with good habits, it can be really impactful and really powerful. What I do think is that it is overprescribed for people who are already in a healthy weight and maybe they just want to lose an extra 5 pounds. I don't think it makes sense for that person. But the key thing with the GLP-1 that people have to remember is that if you are not strength training and you are not hitting your protein target of 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight, you will lose muscle. And up to 40% of the weight that you lose will be muscle. So the problem with GLP-1s is that they're not doing it properly. When used properly with a coach, hitting protein targets, proper strength training regimen, you can actually use it for good. But most people aren't using it with that. So what they're doing is they're losing a ton of weight, half of it, almost half of it being muscle. And so they are putting themselves in a metabolically worse position. So being under muscled is the worst position you can be in. You're going to have metabolic syndromes, can increase your chances of cancer, heart disease, everything bad. Muscle is our longevity tissue. So we have to start thinking it as such, even with like cognition, dementia, Alzheimer's. So when you lose that much muscle, not only are you opening yourself up to metabolic syndromes, but now your maintenance calories are so low because you have no muscle that you will regain that weight back as soon as you get off the GLP-1. So if used properly, it can be great. And I've heard really amazing stories of how it has helped people who had constant food noise and had a really poor relationship with food. They're able to focus more on their life and other things. And I think it can be really beneficial in that way. But when it's used improperly, it can put people in a worse position when they started, unfortunately. So I absolutely recommend if someone were to go on that journey to invest in a coach who can walk alongside you. And I think initially with my industry, people were freaked out. Trainers were like, people have this like weight loss, injection and now pill, and they won't need trainers anymore. But actually, we're seeing that the need for trainers is heightening even more because people are losing all this weight and then they're stuck. They hit a hard plateau where they can't lose any more weight. They're under muscled. They don't feel good. And so people need trainers to help walk that road with them and do it properly. So it can be good, but just like anything, it has to be done properly. And that's where people are missing the mark there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a very important, very crucial part of the conversation, especially because you're helping people avoid that, the toxic cycles that you went through. Um, and and um, and I believe that this nuance is definitely going to. This is something that listeners need to hear because you know it's a very kind of slippery slope in here because it's not just only about your health, but it's also about your psychology, your
Yeah.
daily routines, like how profoundly it affects your daily activities. So before we wrap up, Mackenzie, if listeners they would like to, connect with you, explore more about more confident fitness, what other ways they can do that?
For sure. So I have a website, moreconfidentfitness.com. I also have Instagram as my main social media, and it's at MCKFITTY_J. So McFitty J. You can find me on Instagram. You can go to my website and submit contact form. I also do free discovery calls, so we can talk about your goals, see what you're looking for, and see if we could be a good fit of working together.
That's amazing. So, listeners, I'll make sure that all the links are there in the show notes. And, listeners, if this conversation resonated with you, or maybe it challenged you, or it made you think differently, please share it with someone who needs to hear because I guarantee you are not the only one struggling with this. And McKinsey, thank you so much because this was a real, authentic conversation. I feel and I really appreciate that you brought out that realness and that vulnerability in here. Because it's all about building lives and businesses that actually work, not the ones that just look good on social media.
Yes, absolutely.
And listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Until next time, I'm Sana and I'll catch you in the next episode of This Blend. Until then, be kind to yourself, but don't let that kindness become an excuse. You have got this. So take care, and I'll meet you in the next episode. Thank you.